We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew, and you're watching another episode of the HSP podcast on the Give a Shot Network. I am Jeff Martin alongside my tag team partner, the Trendsetter, Bryan Berger. What's going on, Trendsetter? How you doing here? Almost Thanksgiving. It'll soon be upon us. We got so much to discuss in the world of pro wrestling, and we are here for you. Another episode. And again, you can subscribe here on the Give a Shot Network on YouTube, and then make sure you also hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of the show. And then make sure, if you can't watch us, to listen to us on all podcast platforms. Make sure you download and subscribe to High Spot Podcast. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Are you ready for the holiday season as it is upon us, Trendsetter? How you doing, man?
Time goes by way too fast, Joe. It really does. To think that we're in the holiday season, to think we are on the cusp, Jeff, of what I call, in my opinion, the start of the road to WrestleMania, which is Survivor Series in San Diego, California, man. And listen, we talked about this during our Instagram Live. They have done, and I will give credit where credit's due, because I think for the last couple of weeks, I've been really critical, and, I could speak for you too. Maybe we've been highly critical of how, Raws and SmackDowns have been going, but man, I am getting psyched up and hyped up for this Survivor Series War Games that's going to happen in San Diego. Not just for the John Cena thing, but getting excited for the potential of what we're going to see as we break down the card as we get closer to Survivor Series. But yeah, man, listen, time's going by fast. The weather's changing. There's no more daylight here on the East Coast. By any stretch of the imagination, the days are shorter and time's going a lot faster. But again, wouldn't want to do it any other time, any other place right now, but talk about this, because right now, honestly, Jeff, as much as we always want to talk about how wrestling's always evolving, it's always changing, there's always some news out there. To me, this is the most exciting time right now, because it seems like a lot of things are kind of coming to a finale and starting new chapters for the new year.
Most definitely, and I think that we are excited for the card, the men's War Games and the women's War Games, a little bit more with the men's. Still hoping that they add another match. I don't know by the time we do the Survivor Series preview, we'll have all the matches completed, because obviously they were doing another taping for a Thanksgiving episode of Friday Night SmackDown, because, of course, Saturday is Survivor Series. But we'll get you that Survivor Series preview this week on the Give Us a Shot Networks, to make sure you check out for that. That's why you got to hit that notification bell. Got to make sure that you don't miss a single episode. And coming off a great live where we did it live and we talked about a lot of things. I think that was really Saturday Night's Main Event. I think, yeah, we did that live, and I think that went really really successful here, and we appreciate all the views and everything, and trying to give you guys more stuff like that. We did an IG live for John Cena's New York. I did one, I think, for the Boston, and so we're heading also now 2 appearances left for the GOAT John Cena, so we'll discuss that as well. But talking about Friday Night SmackDown, and I think the show has gotten better. A lot of people have given it reviews, positive ones. So I think it's in the right direction. But again, you want to see more consistency with Friday Night SmackDown. But let's talk about it first and foremost before we do talk about the show itself. Lots to discuss, but 3 hours starting January 2nd, SmackDown returns to its 3-hour format. And a lot of people were like, oh, sighs. And a lot of people were just, you could not believe the decision. Obviously, it's money based, but what are the first things you thought of? Or maybe was it just a sound effect, or was it just, something negative like a lot of people did? What was your first reaction when you found out SmackDown was going back to 3 hours?
Basically, here we go again, is what I thought originally. That's what I thought, because, listen, when it first started, the whole 3 hours, we were always complaining about Raw being the same thing, and then saying, "Oh my goodness, it just drags too long. There is no flow. Sometimes you're lucky, and actually everything flows really well, but 9 times out of 10, or 99.9% of the time, it's just too long of a show." Now, a lot of people complain, "Oh, well, PLEs are usually the same thing." It's kind of different a little bit when you're doing Raw and SmackDown, because most of the times when you're doing Raw and SmackDown, it's about 20, 30 minutes of an opening promo, and then you really never get to the action. But you would think initially for 3 hours, now SmackDown returning to that, it would give more opportunity for people to be on TV more. Because when it's a 2-hour show, it's really confined. But I think for me personally, that's the formula that's always worked. Because although it's confined, you have only 2 hours to work with. So you're trying to get everything you can in. And I think for the most part, in my opinion, it's been successful. 3 hours is tricky. So there's no doubt that when they start again in 3 hours, they're going to pull out all the stops, kind of like they did at this MSG event for Raw. But then how can you continually do that on a week-to-week basis? You're not going to be able to. It's going to suffer, and the product's going to suffer, and it's going to be back and forth where you and I talk about it just way too long. But listen, from a business perspective, I understand it, because if they want to go 3 hours or 4 hours and it does provide them more money, depending on how you want to look at the ratings, if they come out as a profit for it, why not continue it? So I'm not a huge fan of it. I know the reason they're going to go back to it, for the mere fact that, listen, it just makes sense for them financially. I mean, Triple H just talked about how he doesn't like it either. It's more difficult to do a 3-hour show, like the simplicity of a 2-hour one. But wasn't surprised. In my mind initially was, here we go again. And it's going to be a drag because, again, from the beginning, it's going to be interesting and fun because they're going to put all the stops. But then the third, fourth, fifth, sixth week, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, this show is horrible. And that's what I fear is going to happen.
Yeah, I think there's always gonna be bright spots to it, but of course, with 3 hours, there's just more stuff that drags on, and it's gonna be up to them because, like you said, I could see the first couple of weeks they're gonna just come out and just throw everything at you. That's why I think that one of the first things they should do is get rid of this. Well, to me this year they've gotten rid of the draft because I don't see one coming up anytime soon.
I hope we
And
don't
then,
get that. I really don't.
yeah, and then also they're gonna just have cross promoted again with Raw superstars coming in and NXT superstars, which I think they need to do, but I just hope they don't go back and after 6 to 7 episodes, they just go back to being complacent and be like, okay, this is where we're at. Hopefully, I think that maybe in the summertime it goes back to 2 hours and then it goes back to 3. But listen, they kind of have no choice. It's up to USA Network. They're the ones that are asking for this, and WWE is supplying this. A lot of people think that this is also going to help out the ratings if they get that extra hour. I mean, generally, you want 2.5 hours tops for a wrestling show. 3 hours seems too much, but it's just going to be, who are those people? Are they going to be a lot of the time? Are you going to focus on the tag team division? Are you going to give people like Julie an opportunity? I
Heaven
can't.
forbid they focus on the tag team division, man.
I
Heaven
can't.
forbid.
I can't believe the utter disgrace of this Julia booking. Because again, she's back to doing backstage promos, and part of her has got to be like, "What did I sign up for here?" And maybe WWE's just not comfortable with her promos or her relating to the crowd. But we'll see. This will give opportunities, but then most likely the reaction is negative, which I've seen all over, the internet. Which it's the first is a negative response. So what will they do beginning January 2nd in Buffalo? What will they do to make this an exciting 3 hours? Or keep you entertained or keep you in the loop? Like I said, none of these have to be home runs all the time. It's impossible. For 52 weeks, you cannot all hit home runs, but you need to make it at least entertaining, make me worth watching, invest me with a storyline that I can sink my teeth into. And obviously, not having the bloodline, not having those kind of stories, they have not helped out SmackDown because it's a shell of what it was, right? But I think that they need to have us emotionally invested, and I think they have the talent. I don't want to be negative and say who deserves that airtime. Make them that deserve that. Give them that airtime and see if they deserve it. Like guy got Carmelo Hayes. I talked about Julia. These people here need to be given some time, and we'll see if they really invest in the storylines. But SmackDown will be 3 hours, so it's gotten a lot of negativity. But I'll try to be positive and be wait and see. But obviously, if they get complacent after a few weeks, then it's back to where we started. And it's going to be just the banter of just negativity on
Well,
SmackDown.
what was your instinct initially when you heard the same thing too? When you heard the news that it was going to get moved to 3 hours?
The first thing was like, oh, great, I can't wait to go online and see what the negativity is about because it's going to be negative.
Very true.
Yeah, and obviously after watching previous SmackDowns, I'm like, what the hell are they thinking here? And obviously, it's the money, it's the ratings, because obviously they had Halloween was one of their lowest SmackDowns that they've had. I don't think they didn't even reach 1 million, right? So but again, it was the end of WWE. It was the downfall. That was no, but it's Halloween and we get it. But it was one of their lowest rated episodes. So it just has not gained the traction that they've wanted, and we'll see if adding that extra hour will help with the ratings. But everything with the new rating system, though, too, has been kind of messed up too. You're not seeing the numbers that you used to see with the old Nielsen ratings. You'd have like 1.3, 1.4, and now there's all new algorithm, all this new math, everything here, where like you're seeing much lower ratings, and you have to adjust. But we'll see what happens with SmackDown. I was I was in the same boat where I was like, oh man, this is going to be met with negativity. But if that episode that we got this past Friday is anywhere near where we're going to get on 3 hours of SmackDown, well, maybe things will change. Just can't get complacent. So we go to SmackDown, Trendsetter, and the lead-in now to Survivor Series. We are now a week away from Survivor Series War Games in San Diego, Petco Park. And we found out on Raw that the men's side is complete, but now this time we found out the women. We were looking who would be the fifth members for each women's team. Found out that AJ Lee will team up with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and then also we'll get Becky Lynch teaming up with the team of the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jackson, Lash Legend, Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair, of course, round out Rhea Ripley's team. So it's going to be interesting, but again, I'm more interested in the men's one, but let's take a moment here with the women's matchups here. Are you intrigued here, or are you still leaning this being a men's War Games heavy, dominant PLE?
I think if you're going to be the smart person, put the money on the storyline that people are going to be intrigued the most, it's going to be the men's. This is no fault of the women. Listen, when you look at the women, they're inside this War Games match, bunch of talent around. And some newbies from NXT, obviously. But what intrigues me more from the men's side is that the interconnection when you have Brock Lesnar, you have now Roman Reigns, you have this whole situation with Roman and CM Punk, the history with Cody Rhodes, the feeling how this is going to be very dysfunctional. And then, of course, the wild card in all this, in my opinion, is Brock Lesnar, because you know his connection with Paul Heyman, and you just see that team as such a brute force team in terms of just, my goodness, unbelievable start and talent, and kind of a way that Brock is theoretically he is right now. And then you look at that roster, and that's the future moving forward with the Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and the Logan Paul, right? So that intrigues me more. The thing that's just interesting about the whole women's thing, Jeff, is that not necessarily from the Asuka side, but then you have two cool dynamics here with the history between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. Then you have Alexa Bliss and Kairi Sane as these, small little friends of these two gigantic women. And then you add in AJ Lee in that equation, which is another added piece to this whole thing. It doesn't intrigue me as much as the men's right now, because the men's is just filled with star power, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's plenty of star power with the females, but just more story, a lot of history has been just you've seen it. There's just been a lot of matches back and forth between Brock and Roman. The crowd, MSG popped when you saw they were the two guys in there and they went at it. So you can say that we've seen it, but it doesn't get old, at least for the people that were watching and the people that are watching on social media platforms and all over the platforms that WWE has. That, I mean, at that point it was like 67 million people watched that. So there's a lot of people that are still interested in the whole Brock and Roman. And then, of course, you had CM Punk and Cody to it, and then the Usos. Obviously, it's star-studded, and it's going to lean more to the men. So I think that the men should main event Survivor Series without getting any kind of, heat from anybody. But obviously, that's the way it should go. Obviously, the heels had the best of the faces as Becky Lynch attacks AJ Lee as she comes to join her team, and then so they get the best of them, and Rhea Ripley, obviously Rhea Ripley gets attacked as well, and then they try to put on an effort, but the heels go on top. Becky Lynch, who lost the Intercontinental Championship to Maxine Dupree, she's trying to get justice for her, so obviously that's why she's in the match. So there is a good rivalry and stories, but maybe sometimes not enough to do War Games, whether it's merited. I don't know about how you feel about it, but I'm not really a guy that's like, we need to have a men's and women's. There should be maybe one, and if maybe both of them intertwine and maybe both of them are that important, then we should have men's and women's. But I think what WWE should do in the future is maybe just, hey, this men's one has a little bit more of a story, more of a reason to go into War Games, and just have one. What do you think about that?
No, yeah, I would agree. Sometimes I feel with the situation similar to the Royal Rumble that there needs to be two individual ones, or Elimination Chamber for, in fact, you have a women's and a men's Elimination Chamber match. I think for War Games, I can understand why they're trying to do it, but to your point as well, I don't know that should really be based off just that, because when you look at the two differences between these War Game matches, as we established before in the beginning, there's more story and more to sink your teeth into with the men's one as opposed to the women's. Not to say that the talent's better than the other, regardless of that. It's just that I'm more intrigued in this one going into it as opposed. There have been elimination chamber matches, for example. I've been more into the women's elimination chamber match than I have been the men's. It just happens. But you're right. It should really just go one particular War Games, and then the other one should just be matches. So here's the thing that I wanted to mention to you too. Isn't it funny now with this whole combination of War Games? I think it's been a great combination combining War Games and Survivor Series together. But there's still part of me, maybe this is me just dating myself, that I do miss the old school Survivor Series elimination, which you and I were based on watching when you were watching WWE, WWF at the time. That became the tradition. And so if you're not going to have two separate War Games, have one focused on that, and let's do some classic Survivor Series elimination tag matches. That was kind of the intrigue when I watched it, and they've kind of gone away with that now that they've combined the whole WCW and WWE thing together. So I kind of miss out on that. So if let's say the women's wasn't going to be that, let's make that an elimination tag match.
I totally agree with that. Definitely, there's not a reason why that shouldn't happen, where you get the War Games and then the traditional Survivor Series matchup. I just don't think that every match should be a Survivor Series match because it all gets basically all that gets cyclical because there was a time for it, early 2000s, and then people were just getting tired of the concept and people were just tired of the brand thing where it was Raw versus SmackDown. And I hated when they would wear the Raw shirts and the SmackDown shirts, and it was just got too hokey for me. And that's why a lot of people got tired of it because there needs to be an evolution when you have these classic PLEs, right? The classic four. I mean, Royal Rumble really doesn't need to be that much. It's probably the only one that you don't need to fine tune a lot because, hey, listen, it's for the championship. Whoever wins this is going, and you put a couple title matches there, and it's probably the only one where you don't need to tweak a lot. But the Survivor Series has been the one that's always been needing to always evolve, and a lot of people 10 years ago were like, oh, we're tired of Raw versus SmackDown. We're tired of so then we came up with this War Games concept, and we're all for it because NXT did such a good job with it, and we were all for it when Triple H began to take over. Before a lot of people were pessimistic about the way Triple H is running things, they were all for whatever Triple H is doing. And now people are like, oh, there's too many, the men's and women's, we only need one. Oh, there has to be meaning towards these matches. People just don't want to just enjoy a War Games. They want to, they want their cake and eat it too, I guess, in this stuff. But to me, I like where there's maybe a one, women's Survivor Series match and then the War Games and vice versa. And then if you want to have another one like the Shinsuke Nakamura, Sammy, and the MFTs, that could have been put into the Survivor Series matchup itself. 5 matches, open up with that. And then have, to me, there's no reason why that should not have happened there. I think that would have given everybody their fill of having a Survivor Series match. And then the 2 War Games matches. But I see what they're doing. They want a men's and women's. They don't want to single everybody out because you know what's going to happen, Trendsetter? Because then the women are going to be like, and again, this is vice versa. So I'm just saying, though, if the men's were to main event this year, then it'd be like, oh, then why are, the women getting no respect? The women don't do this and that. They're not give enough time to make a story because that's what happened. They would have been like, well, the women, if they would have given them their time or if they would have had better writing or better booking, then it probably would. Because I believe that this War Games match would be more male dominated most of the time. That we like to see a War Games match with the men. So I mean, it's cyclical, dude. And again, there's cynics as well that always have something to say. You're not going to be too happy. You know what I mean? Like it's whatever way, because then the debate will be, well, then which one should main event? Which one shouldn't? And while it's great for debate, sometimes it just gets a little too everybody gets obnoxious, and then you just I don't know. You can't please everybody. So, but they did a good job. And also, you got to think about it, Trendsetter. There's all these events now that come together and they're side by side. You can't book unless you do long term and you try to book a Saturday night's main event into a Survivor Series storyline and all that stuff. Sometimes it's just tough with all these PLEs that they do now.
It is tough, but it is doable for the fact that, I think on SmackDown, they're going to do a Survivor Series type match there. Kind of similar to what they do for WrestleMania when the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was part of WrestleMania. Now, the last couple of years, they've been doing it on SmackDown, which, you're like, oh, well, now they have time to themselves and not being rushed. But at the same time, if you're on WrestleMania, you want to be part of WrestleMania, regardless if it's on SmackDown. You want to be part of the main show. So it's always going to be up for debate. People are always going to question and say, should there be two war games? Should there be one? We're giving options out there too. But for me, when we're talking about, we mentioned in the beginning, there always seems to be one particular story you're interested in. And for me, what intrigues me the most about war games is generally the men's war games. Now, when I talk about the men's war games and the people in it, that's a whole other story, because I'm not in agreement with everyone in it, mainly on the side for Cody and CM Punk. Because listen, people are going to be like, main event Jey Uso, he should be in there. Okay, Jimmy Uso, you have the bloodline with Roman. I get that, but I'm sorry, a guy like Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, in my opinion, should not be in this War Games right now. Because if we're going to put the best of the best of people in there, I would say Cena, but Cena is preoccupied doing something else for the Intercontinental Championship, which we'll talk about. But I would love to see AJ Styles in there. Why couldn't he be in one of these elimination chamber match? The elimination chamber, the War Games match, because he has history there. You're telling me there's not a spot open for AJ Styles, who's most likely going to be sitting out the Survivor Series for what? I mean, he's a tag team champion right now, but I don't think the titles are going to be defended at Survivor Series. And if they are, I'm like, come on, give me a break. We're going to see AJ Styles in a tag team match, honestly. Is he going to be the one at this stage of his career, about to retire, going to save the tag team division? No, it's a waste, in my opinion.
Yeah, again, that's why we'll see what that fifth match is going to be. But I listen, we've got. I'm not confident that we're going to get 5 matches here. I think they're going to let all these both War Games matches just play out, like give them like about at least 45 to 50 minutes for each match, plus the commercials, plus that. I think we're only going to get 4 matches, and I feel for you people in San Diego, because 4 matches, really, that's going to be a lot of sitting through a lot of commercials and stuff. And it's going to be one of the reasons why that, hey, listen, I'm not paying all this for an event like this. As tempting as it is to see Cena and Dominic one more time in San Diego, to see who's who of superstars in the War Games matches. I mean, do I really want to just pay for 4 matches, sitting up in nosebleeds, paying like out of my ass all these insane amounts of money for the tickets? I don't think so. And you talked about guys like AJ Styles. I'll get out there and give you another name, in Randy Orton. And I don't know if Randy Orton's pissed off anybody, or they just. I find it hard to believe that you can't find something for Randy Orton. But I guess Triple H is playing this long game with Randy, but why is he not booked? Is he part-time? I fail to believe that he is part-time.
Oh, there's no question about it. When we looked at his schedule and the sporadic times he's been on TV, there's no question he's just part-time. If he wants to wrestle into his 50s, Jeff, he has to be a part-timer.
I get it, but I mean, this is way too they're being way too I guess lax on his booking, because a guy like Randy Orton should be in one of these kind of matches. Okay, I'm not saying he has to be in every PLE, but when's the last time he was in the PLE? Was it against John Cena? Was that the last one that he was in?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what is that all about? And I'm pretty sure Randy Orton wants to be involved. We're waiting for this Randy Orton versus Cody to happen. And now we're going back to Drew. And I said it last time that I don't believe Drew as a serious threat to the world, to the Undisputed Championship. I just don't see it. You suspended him. You made him join the Vision. You made him, he snuck attack Cody, but then Cody comes back about half hour later and just beats up on everybody like nothing happened, comes out with a scar, and like, that's it. So like, when's this going to happen for Drew? Are you going to believe it? Are you going to be receptive to it? Or have you moved on to a guy like Randy Orton? He should be next in line. And that's what you need to do. If you're going to go 3 hours, you need to have everybody at their best, have everyone there. And I just think it's an injustice right now that Randy Orton is not on TV as much as he should be on there more. So I think that they're doing a discredit to Randy Orton. As much as you're pulling for AJ Styles and you have his back, I kind of have Randy Orton here front and center, because War Games, this dude should be on the War Games card, and he has history too. So he has the history too. So you can't dispute that a guy like Randy Orton should not be in War Games, where he has a history with everyone here.
Yeah, but the only difference is my guy's almost at the door, when Randy Orton seems to be really playing this for the long run. So it's like, yeah, you're right. The inconsistency of having Randy Orton on TV is there. The frustration is there. But to me personally, it's not to the equivalent of the frustration why a guy in AJ Styles, who's going to be 1 foot out the door basically right now. He says 2026. We don't know how early in 2026 or how late in 2026 he's going to be done, but he said he's done. This will be it for him. Why not have him in his first ever War Games? And if you're not going to have Randy Orton there, as much as I like the fact that, you know, John Cena won the Intercontinental title, and he's going to be defending against Dominic, which is well deserved there. How cool would it have been to see a John Cena in a War Games match? First ever time being in a War Games match. What else does he have to prove in terms of get done and accomplish there? That would have been awesome too.
You imagine, and nothing to take away from AJ Styles, right? Or AJ Styles. I mean, nothing to take away from him, but imagine having Randy Orton, John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes. I'm not a Marvels guy. What would that be? What was that called for?
The Avengers.
The Avengers. What's that? The stones. What are those?
Oh, the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what it would be kind of like doing. See, listen. I don't proclaim myself to be a comic person, so I'm gonna leave it trendsetter. And I'm glad you're ready to save my ass because I was like, wait a minute, the trendsetter doesn't know this, so I was like, whoa, wait a minute here.
It is kind of that way. Whatever combination, like you said, your combination is probably better with Randy Orton and John Cena, and they're replacing Jay and Jimmy. That would be an Avengers moment where they all assemble. My goodness, that would be amazing in terms of that. That alone would be worth it if you're only going to have 4 matches. I doubt they'll have 4 matches. Even if they do, you would kind of shake your head to think, man, people are going to pay for 4 matches, which they've done before, Jeff. They've done that before.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not far-fetched, but yeah, it'd be hard pressed to say to do that. But if you had Randy Orton and John Cena in that War Games match, man, that'd be historic right there.
Carmelo Hayes advances against Bronson Reed in the Last Time Is Now tournament. So good for Carmelo Hayes. I mean, I don't know about Gunther in the next round. I'm not sure how far Carmelo Hayes goes, but for that one day, though, he beats Bronson Reed via countout and Penta and Finn Balor in a very good match. Obviously, you wouldn't doubt that these guys have a good match. So you got good wrestling, man. A great tag team match. Ilya Dragunov is doing his open titles. Here's my thing for you. Is it going to get played out, these U.S. Open challenges? Do you think they can be played out? Or do you think that they need to tweak it before it gets old? Or do you think that nobody will give a bleep if he keeps doing this every week? Because I think there might be a point where they do it too much. And just your quick thoughts on that. Could the U.S. Open Challenge be played out if they keep doing this every week? It's easy booking, but could it get played out?
Listen, I'm the believer if it's not broke, don't fix it, because sometimes there's a lot of overthinking in this. I agree. It's going to eventually need to be tweaked. The moment when it's tweaked, Jeff, is when he gets a rival to single it out where there's no more open challenge. It's really just one particular person. I like to think it's Tommaso Ciampa. That's what they're kind of building for.
Or Tama Tonga.
Yeah, or any one of the Tongas, the Tongaloas, the Talatongas, whatever you want to say, in that amazing family bloodline, like rabbits, those people, man. But it's like it's amazing that once that happens, I think that's when these open challenges will stop. It's great for the concept of it, bringing it back, and you know, Sammy kind of brought it back, and it was really cool. And the fact that it could be anybody was always intriguing. And listen, we've always been the believers too when it comes to titles like that are considered secondary titles, the Intercontinental title and the U.S. title. Those should be defended as frequently as possible to kind of give importance to that championship.
It's making Ilya Dragunov, though. It's really he is getting the respect, though. I mean, it is working to his benefit to have all these open challenges. But
he's getting the respect because of the work he puts in the ring. His matches are always really good with anybody he works with. But eventually there'll be a point where it will be tweaked, and the tweak will be the fact that he's going to be in a storyline. And then we'll see at that point, is he good enough? I'm not saying he's not, but is he good enough to have us interested in a story when it's no longer a week-to-week open challenge? Because like you said, it's easy booking. And right now it's not broken, so don't fix it. But once we get that singles action where it's a single storyline now, it's no longer about the U.S. Open Challenge. That's where the big test is going to be for Ilya. Can he actually carry a storyline with whoever he's working with? I'm sure both will do their part in it. That'll be the big test. But right now, it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't see it ending anytime soon.
We were talking a little bit about the Last Time Is Now tournament, and we discussed off air about how we liked. First of all, thank God we got brackets finally, because it was very hard to keep up with this. There you go. There's the John Cena graphic there. Speaking of graphics, we do have graphics, unlike brackets that WWE had for this tournament. We kind of had to like memorize it, write it down. We had to kind of go old school with the way things were. We had to like make sure this goes there, he goes there, and then we had all these
Even those brackets weren't legitimate.
yeah, and we had all these mystery opponents for a guy like LA Knight, and Sheamus injured, so he has to take on a mystery opponent. But listen, by the time this airs, well, spoiler alert, so I'll give you 3 seconds to ear them off. 3, 2, 1. The Miz. The Miz gets another opportunity, and he takes on LA Knight. So I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but that's the guy that took Sheamus's place, and we hope Sheamus has a speedy recovery, and we hope all is well. Enjoyed him at Madison Square Garden and being one of John Cena's being side by side with John Cena in his last match at Madison Square Garden. So good for that. But like, you talked off air that you would like to tweak these brackets. I'm not going to put you on the spot and say who would you do it, but have you been excited by this? Besides Matt Cardona and Dolph Ziggler, who returned, has this been exciting to you? Or has this been again another fail by the company in this John Cena farewell tour? Because like I said, I cannot wait to do the podcast when we break down this past year for John Cena. That could be a whole freaking podcast, but obviously I'll give you some time this week to maybe do your bracket and do a little segment here, and we can make it a segment. But in a synopsis, are you happy with the way that the bracket has gone so far?
No, absolutely not, because it was very predictable. If it wasn't for Sheamus being injured, I think it's safe to say, and listen, we're all smart people here. The crew is smart. You're smart, Jeff. I know it hurts me to say that, but you're a smart guy, Jeff. Sometimes. But when you look at this bracket, it was designed, honestly, it was designed for Gunther to be in the final with Sheamus and have one of those other memorable matches, in my opinion, that we hadn't seen so long, because they had a great series of matches when they were fought for the Intercontinental title. And for them to be in the finals to face John, which ultimately I feel will be Gunther, I think it was designed for that. But then once Sheamus got injured, it just became way less, like, not necessarily predictable, because on one side of the bracket, you knew Gunther was going to make it to the finals. We knew Bronson was going to beat Carmelo Hayes. But again, a great match by Carmelo. Nothing but a lot of respect and admiration for the fact that it wasn't successful as a heel. I'm still questioning him being a babyface. But again, hey, they're going that route, so we'll see where it leads. And for Sheamus to be injured, now we're going to have another scenario where we could have LA Knight in the final. So to me,
it's gonna be Gunther versus Jey Uso or LA Knight. I mean, that's how it's
one of those two, exactly. Yeah. But to me, what I would have loved to seen, if we're going to take that spot away from the Miz, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but for some reason he's been kind of on my radar, though he hasn't been on television for a while. What about a Grayson Waller? A scenario where, like, you have a young guy in here, talks a lot of smack, but at the same time, give him an opportunity to advance a little bit in this bracket to make a name for himself. I'm not saying a guy like this has to make it to the final, but me and you, we're talking about making stars. We're talking about opportunities. Why wouldn't that be a scenario where we'd be like, hey, listen, look at this guy. I still badly want to see him get his ass kicked, but he's advancing in the final. He's advancing to the quarterfinals.
I just think that everything has been playing it safe with John Cena, man. I don't think anything was outside the box at all. I think that they did not. You can say whatever you want about the heel turn, about, hey, that was not playing it safe. That was taking a chance. Well, I mean, it's something that we've wanted for 20 years, and honestly, like, really, that big of a taking a risk where if you had done it right, it would have been an amazing success as far as just having this heel John Cena, but we only had less than 15 dates at the time to do so. You were destined to fail. That was horrible. And then this tournament again,
that's whole story in its own, though, Jeff.
Yeah, and then this
that to be for other reasons that they did heel turn.
And then this tournament, right? Well, yeah, it's The Rock's freaking fault, but this tournament then. You're thinking, okay, and nothing seems like right. We even talked about this about John Cena not ending on his terms, and you were criticizing, and you were just saying that he was giving like a political answer, right? Yeah. But you know what, though? Unfortunately, though, I guess sometimes we don't. But you would have thought that a guy like John Cena would be able to do it on his terms. Triple H wanted to do a 2-hour tribute, and he wants to do something where like NXT gets involved and they do like exhibition matches. Against the main roster stars, there should be something halfway. I do want something for John Cena. I do want a tribute for him, though. I don't want it to be all matches and then John gets just a 10-minute block and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have the 2 matches in the 3 matches in the first hour, and then it's all John Cena that second hour, right? I think you do all that stuff because I want to see that John Cena goodbye speech. I want to see all the superstars outside. And really, this needs to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. There needs to be all the superstars come out of the. Why am I getting emotional? There needs to be all these. There needs to be all these. The superstars outside of the ring, waiting for John Cena as he walks out. And then oh my God. And then he walks out and then he waves to the crowd, whatever like that. And he says that goodbye to Stu. And that's it. That's how it needs to go. And I just feel like John Cena has not gotten his way whatsoever. And he's been the good soldier. And he's just had to deal with it.
Listen, man, I can't disagree with anything you've said right now. From the very announcement that he made that he was going to retire and he was going to give X amount of dates, and we found out how many dates they were. There were so many directions it could have gone in. People were speculating, oh, there could be this guy and that guy, and you do this and that. Everything was thrown in a monkey wrench when Elimination Chamber happened, and then he turned heel. A lot of what we hoped and anticipated did actually come to fruition. We got to see CM Punk. We got to see another match with Randy Orton. And a lot of people complain that, he didn't have a chance to work with Edge because Edge no longer works for the company. He works for AEW. But again, that's not going to happen. Okay. It's still a great rival. Everyone thought it was going to be this farewell tour, John Cena's greatest hits type of thing. And this twist that happened with the heel turn. And then all of a sudden, it just went to a completely different direction that nobody could have foreseen happening. Like you said, we were waiting 20 years for this to happen, and you're doing it now. But even with that heel turn, as looking back retrospectively, we were like, oh, what a horrible move that was. Now he turns back into a babyface facing Cody at SummerSlam. Are you kidding me? But back then, we're like, oh my God, this is like heel Hogan.
Oh,
he can extend his career for another 2-3 years. And although he has been public and said, could I stretch it out for a couple more matches? Yeah. But, John, in his very politically correct answers, is really focused on the point that he said he made a promise. And he wants to leave before his skills diminish any further. Now, a lot of people can argue that he's been having some of his best matches so far, or the best matches in his career ever, especially that match with, and you're going to be like, oh, you're mentioning him again. But it's true with AJ Styles, an amazing match that ended their chapter of their history together as a rival. He can extend this for another 2-3 years. But then we run the risk where John could get injured. He'll be a shell of his former self in 2 or 3 years. But again, as a heel, it could be different. Listen, it's all retrospect here. And in terms of what they're going to do, he's leaving out on his own terms, meaning that he set a date, he set a final moment, and it's going to happen regardless. Now, whether we're happy with the outcome or how it's booked or that's completely different, because honestly, you can't remake from the moment he announced his retirement to now. You can't make it up. All the mistakes are there. It was all done horribly. You can't make it up in one night. So you're right. It'd be nice. Everyone outside, everyone surrounding the ring, even during his last match, him saying goodbye to Stu. Listen, they did it to Goldberg, but I highly doubt that WWE will do that to John Cena. They will not give him enough time to say goodbye to the audience or give a farewell speech. But at the same time, too, I don't know if John will be in the scenario. Listen, he's for a polarizing figure, he's done a great job, Jeff, of not letting the audience get to him or not letting the moment get to him. He's always been business, whether he was a babyface or he was a heel for a time. The audience has never wavered him. So when he's done these speeches that become emotional, especially his last Raw in Madison Square Garden, you could have seen it be getting emotional, but John quickly cut it off and made it more about the future, made it more about Dominic, made it more about looking forward past him. So I have no doubt that's what's going to happen at tonight's main event. I don't know. Everyone's waiting for a huge, long 2-3, kind of like a Hall of Fame speech in a way when he says goodbye in his final match. But
it's not.
I don't think that's what we're going to get.
No,
because that just doesn't seem to be the kind of guy he is. So for all the things we want to happen in his final match, I just don't think no matter what happens, it's going to make up for the horrendous mistakes that have happened at this point. Yes, he is going out on his own terms. As much as I want it, John Cena will be like, I see that perspective. It's true. You're leaving before they kick you out, John. In my opinion, that's leaving on your own terms. It's not them giving you the boot and saying, we don't want to see anymore. It's you saying, I want to go out before they don't want me anymore. It's like show business, leaving them wanting more. And that's what John's doing.
So That's what we're gonna get more matches this Monday night for that tournament, and then we'll see what happens because then there'll be just a few weeks after the after Thanksgiving holiday. I think there's only then 2 more weeks, so we'll set up the final. We'll see. We have an idea what it's going to be, but again, it's going to sink in that after Survivor Series, that's it. One more for John Cena, and again, we'll give you our Survivor Series preview show this week before Thanksgiving. Because that's a Saturday, so we'll give it to you. We'll give it to you this week, though. Definitely make sure that you guys subscribe to Give Shot Network for that show, and then we'll do our live. We'll come on here live on that Saturday and definitely talk about War Games, Survivor Series, and definitely break it down for you guys.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to do the same thing.
I set myself up. I was like, break it down. So we're going to talk about that as well. So we're going to go live again this weekend. So lots of fun. So stay tuned for that. So lots to do this weekend. And so SmackDown was a good show. The wrestling was good. The storyline to further it up, and then obviously they did a double episode of SmackDown afterwards. They do the Thanksgiving episode that same night. So not that much stuff that Charlotte will be she wins the War Games entrance, so they'll have the advantage of the War Games and stuff like that. The Monday night you'll see the advantage for the men's, so we'll see what happens with that as well. So I mean, it was a good SmackDown. I'm not sure you guys are gonna like this one though, the go home for Survivor Series, but the one that we just covered here was a very good show, and then we'll see what happens when it moves to 3 hours. The MSG show, we did a live on Monday night right after Madison Square Garden, after John Cena's final appearance, and we went there to do a promo. Went there early in the day. I could feel the energy, and just to put a ribbon on that Monday night, Trendsetter, we both were in New York. We both were by Madison Square Garden, like around 3-ish, whatever. The atmosphere, the chill in the air, something about MSG, John Cena's final appearance. You could feel it just in a ribbon. Just I loved it. I felt it. What did you think about that Raw?
Listen, that Raw was amazing, as we spoke about them on IG Live, right? It was amazing in terms that everyone, and it seems like forever since they've been on they've been in MSG for an event, especially like a Raw, right? Prefer it to be John Cena's final Raw, and for the crowd to be as electric as it was, because you're right, there was a feeling in the air, and I think a lot of it had to do, obviously, with it being John's last Raw on Netflix. But that and the term that everyone that performed that night, whether they're doing a promo or they're in the ring, delivered or gave it 100%. I can't say it was always a home run every single time, but the effort was there and the crowd was there. When you have that combination, it just, for me, no matter what happens, you could butcher and botch all you want. It's going to be a great show. My impressions of it, too, is that you feel, as the term goes, that the end is now, that it's coming to an end. We're coming to the close of a chapter of illustrious, polarizing career of John Cena, and something where it gets to the point now where I've mentioned it several times again. I'll mention it one more time, and probably for the last time, although I might mention it during tonight's main event, though. But I've never hated John Cena, the person. I've hated the character in terms of how the company during that time under the old regime was constantly pushing this. And I can understand why they did it for business sense in terms of the merch and the popularity. There's no doubt he was always going to be a top guy. Then you had the face of Super Cena that everyone hated. The die hardcores, the people that are no longer in my demographic anymore, hated it because we didn't feel that this individual earned it. But he earned our respect. And so for us, myself, or for you, or for people, again, who are people who booed John Cena or said John Cena sucks during his entrance, we hated that character. But at the same time, all respect goes to the fact that this is it. It showcases our age in terms of, as time goes by, we start remembering these people like Rock, Austin, John Cena is the one in that same echelon there. So it's definitely bittersweet because you're always looking towards the future. But when you see a guy like John Cena and the longevity of the career he's had, now we've talked about Roman Reigns as an example in terms of the length of his title reign and how that can never be duplicated again. I think just the work ethic of a guy like John Cena, it's really hard to duplicate that again. But again, it's a great standard to set for anybody who's in the company saying, hey, I want to reach a John Cena level. It's a pretty nice thing to aspire to.
SmackDown will get Jey Uso versus Rusev, and then LA Knight versus The Miz, spoiler alert. And then Raw will get Penta versus Solo Sikoa, and then Carmelo Hayes goes to Raw. He'll take on Gunther in those series of matches, and then those will move on to see who does take on John Cena December the 13th in Washington, D.C. for his final match at Saturday night's main event. It will be can't miss.
Well, Jeff, real quick, one question I wanted to ask you for SmackDown, though. What did you think about Cody Rhodes' promo?
I liked it, man. Like, again, a strong promo. Yeah. Again, made me want to watch this even more. For more psyched up for Survivor Series. So
I like that attitude he brought, though. It was something I hadn't seen in a while.
Well, let's be honest. We talked about this also too. This run for Cody Rhodes, I don't know how much you want to put blame to him. Again, it just has been kind of lackluster a little bit, and that's also basically due to opponents. And he did go away for a little bit to film his movie, but that happens. Stuff like that happens. It's just the writing has been a little bit off for Cody Rhodes. So again, it's when you win that championship, what do you do? Who's next? You have to have a great story lined up. You just can't put a guy there. You have to think about all these factors. I'm sure that they do. But like when you put him in and then his first opponent is a guy like AJ Styles, you know that AJ Styles is not beating him. You have to convince me that AJ Styles can beat him. You have to convince me. You have to tell the story where I could be like, at the end of the day, as impossible as the idea is that AJ Styles could defeat Cody Rhodes, there might be a chance. Hey, they could go. I've as much as I've rooted for Drew, and it's chronicled that Cody was pushing for Drew to beat him at previously at Saturday night's main event, or even before that for the title, and they never pulled the trigger on it, and it could have gone to a better story, because it seems like to me that Cody's a better chaser than the holder of the belt. From what I'm seeing in this second title run, I'm seeing that pattern here where he looks more better as the guy that's chasing that championship. But again, it was a very strong promo, and so it makes me even look more forward to Cody Rhodes being a part of it. It kind of solidified him. And yes, it did make me curious a little bit of if Drew can exact his revenge. But again, there's no title on the line at War Games, so I don't worry about Cody losing or anything like that. So we'll see what happens with Drew. But yeah, Cody's promo, 100%. Don't ever question his promo game. I don't ever question his promo game. We got NXT and AEW. Obviously, NXT was there in the theater at Madison Square Garden for Gold Rush. And after coming off of Blood and Guts, where they beat technically, I mean, if you're not going head to head, I don't, to me, it's not, it's not competition. So they got 600,000 viewers, AEW for Blood and Guts. And they beat NXT. And then this go around, though, where they weren't miming their bodies and everything was back to normal, NXT beat AEW decisively too. I think it was like, I think it was bad. You know what I mean? Like it was, and AEW didn't even do 500K. So they're going into full gear this weekend, and all this momentum and all this Tony Khan saying this is great. How great is it? We were talking about a long time ago how we're rooting for AEW. We just want them to change stuff a little bit because they need to grow a broader audience. But when you're gonna go 0.10 in the demo for the 18 to 49 and 491K, you're going down, and then with the potential sale of WB to maybe Paramount, Netflix. I don't know how much Netflix is going after or pursuing WB, but it's going to be sold. So you have to worry about that. They have to worry about whether Chris Jericho is going to stay. And I don't know if you saw the Helwani interview, but he did answer more stuff. But then you got the other kind of Tony stuff where everything's great. He respects everybody. He loves everybody. And I'll say this: what I got out of the interview is what I've always thought about Tony Khan. He's a hell of a dude. He is a heck of a good guy. There is no question he's a wrestling fan, and he has made the business better for making that competition and having another place to work for the boys. But as far as the business model and as far as like what he wants to do with it, he is stuck in tunnel vision that he wants to just cater to this niche audience, the sickos. I don't know where that came from, but the sickos, and that's who he caters to. That's who he wants to please. There's no and this or but. There's no looking to evolve, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to give you matches, And you could say that the stories are better, but he is very match heavy. Whatever match he wants to put on, he'll give it to you. And I don't know how much the company's benefited from that. But at the end of the day, though, I can't hate the guy because he's a good freaking dude. A guy that I'd like to talk wrestling with probably too. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's negatives and positives, and this guy doesn't seem like he holds a grudge because he had nothing bad to say about Punk, Jade, Ricky, everybody who's in that picture. It seems like he kind of diverted to talk about Mox and Cody. So I don't think this guy is a bad guy, but I just don't make sense of his business model.
Well, I think that's always been the thing with Tony, though. It's like, from a standpoint of liking the guy, yeah, you can't help but like him because we're all wrestling fans. We all love professional wrestling. And when you have somebody who knows all the small, integral things in wrestling like Tony does in terms of his memory, you appreciate that, right? But I think the biggest criticisms have always come from Tony. And I don't know if Tony had considered them personal shots at him or at the company itself, because a lot of people could say easily, oh, you're bashing AEW, you're bashing Tony. But isn't that what we want, though? Don't we want to challenge people in their business models to say, listen, this, at least our opinion, feel this isn't the right move to make, or it's not something we necessarily agree with. That's part of that comedy. Whether you're talking sports, politics, religion, wrestling, anything you cater to, there's going to be disagreements with. So you're right. Listen, sometimes the thing with, when I joked about John Cena being politically correct, sometimes that's the frustrating thing with Tony as well. Because again, listen, I know you can't reveal everything, you can't say everything you want, but Tony always made himself to be someone that you can ask me anything, I got nothing to hide, I'll answer any question. When you see him sometimes dodging the question and not answering it directly on purpose, then you're like, well, then what's going on here? So those are the things you kind of question about him in his business sense. You're right. It's to a particular demographic that, hey, it's us, we enjoy it, but then at the same time, there needs to be some evolution in it because you can only do that so far. That's why there's always an anniversary or a honeymoon phase, more importantly than that anniversary, a honeymoon phase with AEW. We loved it in the beginning because honestly, even though they botched everything or did things wrong, they could do no wrong. And so that's why we loved it so much, because it was something different. It was another option to look at. And that's what we thank Tony for the ability of there being another option. So yeah, listen, I caught the interview. I listened to it too. There's nothing in it that made me think of Tony any different than I do now. And to be an honest opinion, listen, from a promoter standpoint, a fan standpoint, he'll give you matches that you want to see, right? Some dream matches he'll post out there too. But if you're looking for in-depth story and scenarios where you're going to be sitting at the edge of your seat, intrigued in it, and you're not going to have scenarios where people are doing these incredibly dangerous spots and situations for the entertainment of the audience, that's great. But there's always another company, and it's probably not fair to compare it to, but there's another company that did that as well, and they knew the longevity wasn't going to last very long, and that was ECW. You can't do that on a week-to-week basis and expect to be able to have, one, your talent healthy, or people to be like, okay, that's enough, we're bored. What more extreme, scary, dangerous thing can you do next? Because people come desensitized to it. So I've always appreciated Tony and what he's done. It's always been his business model that we question, and everyone else questions too, because I think he spends more time worrying about what WWE does rather than what they should do as a company to separate themselves, which they are with the demographic, but it's not evolving or changing.
See, I think he doesn't worry about what WWE does. He just has that tunnel vision of what he's doing, and what he's doing is just catering to the fans that already watch and not broadening. Where WWE does a good job in giving you that world famous quote by the trendsetter, the Baskin Robbins 31 flavors. As much as sometimes you don't like that, they have to do it, but AEW just seems like it's set in their ways, whatever, and I mean, basically, Full Gear was kind of like rematches, and Mark Briscoe wins the TNT Championship. But after the fifth time that they fought, why couldn't it have been done at another time? You know what I mean? So it's well, I see why people question it, but again, then two of his biggest supporters, one being Brian Alvarez, says, "Hey, Tony's going to book the way he wants to." There's been a lot of people, a lot of executives that have kind of told him, "Hey, Lo, you should do this, do that, do that." It's his company, though, and he wants to book the way he books, and that's how it's going to be, and that's how it's going to be in the long run. And will it affect the company where it's its own hindrance where it doesn't want to grow? You know, it could be a great year, but when you're telling me that the ratings are low, the attendance is low, you know, I mean, the image just doesn't go with what you're telling me, right? It's not reflecting when I'm seeing this, and it helps when you're a private company because you don't have to show the papers, you don't have to show the numbers, so you can say whatever you want. But to what I get from it is everything's great, but it's not. So, you know,
everything is great, but when the visual doesn't match what you're
there
saying,
you go, the visual.
it's very easy to see that's not going great.
All right, Trendsetter. So we'll have our Survivor Series preview show this week. And we just want to wish you everybody an early and safe start to your holiday season, especially Thanksgiving, where it's probably the most everyone commutes and everything. So that is the busiest time. So we want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. But we also want to say, hey, before that turkey, before you go finish that cooking, put on High Spot Podcast, HSP on the Give Shot Network. Catch this show. And also make sure you catch our preview show for Survivor Series this week. Don't want to miss it too. So we won't keep you on too long. We know it's the holiday season, but definitely have yourself some turkey and a side of Trendsetter. So, you know, put that little chair there next to yourself. Put the Trendsetter there, and you know, and watch the show. You don't have, you can mute me if you want, but definitely, it's not Thanksgiving without some cranberry sauce. And you put a little bit of Trendsetter there. Make sure it gets a little bit of the cranberry sauce on his beard, and you know, have fun with that. But no, seriously though, in all joking aside, the Trendsetter, it's the holiday season, like you said. It is kind of in your opinion, my opinion now, it is kind of the road to WrestleMania. So excited to get on that road again with you, and here on the Give a Shot Network. We can't thank you guys enough. And also too, want to let you know we're powered by Bucked Up Energy. So what we're gonna do is we're going to give you a chance to get some free samples for Bucked Up. We're going to put the code here at the bottom of the link. So like when you description of the show, we'll see that little code for you guys to go get yourself some free samples of Bucked Up Energy, and then save yourself 20% using that same link, and hit code HSP1 to get 20% off Bucked Up Energy. Of course, the Black Friday sale will be on hand, so definitely go through High Spot Podcast with Bucked Up. Proud to be part of the Bucked Up Ambassador family. All right, Trendsetter, wrap it up like you normally do, but this time a little bit more eloquently for the Thanksgiving people that are celebrating such a fine holiday.
Well, listen, it's not Thanksgiving yet. If you're going to be thankful for anything, be thankful you're going to see another episode of the High Spot Podcast here on Give Us a Shot Network, guys. So for my tag team partner, for me, the Trendsetter, Bryan Briga, we are the Jersey Red Crew. Guys, hoping you're enjoying your holiday season. Mine's starting right now with Survivor Series. That's the beginning of my holiday, and Christmas will be in April for WrestleMania, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys appreciate it, because we appreciate every single one of you, because we do this for one reason and one reason only, Jeff. We do this for you, the crew.
See you this week. Survivor Series preview show.